A number of years ago, I did a video on Alvin and the Chipmunks, and one of the things I regret doing is ranting about the Alvin and the Chipmunks sequels, which I had not watched. Since then, my attitude has changed, and I now see it as unfair to criticize or bash a movie I have not seen. So, with an open mind and high expectations, I decided to right my wrongs and watch the rest of the trilogy. And let's just say I was disappointed. Before I get into the sequels, let me start with the first movie in the current crop of Alvin and the Chipmunks films. The biggest problem I tend to have with this franchise is the voices. Let's be honest here, when Ross Bagdasarian first came up with the idea, it was meant as a complete gimmick. Hey, let's take songs and speed them up so it sounds like Ronan's is singing them. Which is funny for about 1 second, and then it gets old very quickly. To have to listen to that for a full-length feature is an easy way to grate on my nerves. Even in a high-quality production like Pixar's Up, I did not find myself amused by the squeaky-voiced dog voice. However, I could get past the irritating voices if the story was any good, and the characters were endearing. But alas, you know those things we tend not to like in new updates of classic properties? Pop culture references, shoehorning in modern music, gross and unnecessary gags that exist to get that PG stamp, and an incredibly cliched story. Yep, that's all here. Every single story beat you can expect shows up, with Dave first hating the presence of the Chipmunks, then tolerating them, and then finally caring about them. I mean, that is one of a number of ways to write the hero's journey, but it also results in a dull and incredibly predictable script. Dave Seville was never that interesting, and did always come across as a wet blanket, but here there's absolutely nothing really that likable about him. It's not helped by Jason Lee's very stilted and unnatural performance. Where's that charm and charisma he brought to Brody Bruce in Mallrats, or even the bite of Syndrome from The Incredibles and Banky from Chasing Amy? Non-existent. And then there's David Cross. He should be a great and actually threatening villain, but he's just direct attack slimy and displays none of the comedic chops he's shown on the likes of Arrested Development and Mr. Show. Then there are the Chipmunks themselves, whose personalities have not really changed that much since the 1980s, which, if you're a fan of theirs, is great. But if you don't care for their earlier incarnations like myself, they're intolerable. Alvin is such a little brat, and it's not hard to see why he gets on Dave's nerves. Simon is nothing more than the smart one, while Theodore is always hungry and just acts cute all the time. I understand the need to be consistent throughout a property's existence, but some additional character development would certainly be appreciated. Then there's the humor, which is lowest common denominator fodder, the most infamous being a scene where the Chipmunks eat each other's feces. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I was watching Alvin and the Chipmunks, not Solo. I feel like I'm stepping into Brad Jones territory here. Anyway, I hated that first film, but there's always room for improvement. So is the sequel, Squeakquel, any better? If one of my biggest issues with the first one was its overly predictable screenwriting 101 storyline, what I strongly dislike about the second movie is it does not even have a story. At least not a proper one with a structure and a solid beginning, middle, and end. It's basically Alvin and the Chipmunks go to school, and then the Chipettes show up. Cue singing competition, the end. There are all these little plot points strung together, but not one that makes an actual story with drama and stakes. It's a lot of high school cliches thrown in and a boring message about family. The new cast additions are especially baffling. Maybe Jason Lee was busy, so he's essentially bedridden through most of the film, which, considering his acting in this franchise, should be a good thing. However, we're then saddled with Zachary Levi playing the stereotypical gamer nerd who's constantly stumbling over himself whenever sees his old crush. And at no point do I care, nor am I rooting for him to have his happy ending, or any of the characters for that matter. There's no rooting interest in any of them. As for the Chipettes, again, it's how they were in the cartoon, but they're so flatly written. Even worse, this movie tries to sexualize the Chipettes by having them dance in a very suggestive manner and singing songs like Put a Ring on It. I don't know whose bright idea that was, but the Chipettes are basically preteens, so this is both creepy and inappropriate. But this is a franchise that started with feces eating, so why am I shocked? And another question, why are they sent to a regular human school? 1. It's established that they are worldwide celebrities. Those types either go to school with other celebrity adolescents or have a tutor. Did Justin Bieber or whoever young people listen to these days go to regular high schools to be educated? I doubt it. 2, they're chipmunks. Admittedly, talking chipmunks, but nonetheless, would it not be a better idea for them to go to a school where they might not be trampled by the other students? If I'm questioning the internal logic of a movie where talking rodents start a rock band, there's something wrong. Then came the next one, featuring the equally eye-rolling subtitle, Chipwrecked. In this entry, the writers decide to go for the stranded on a desert island plot and fill it with all the expected pop culture references. So we get the castaway jokes, the bits about being scared by the jungle, and sure, let's throw in the crazy woman who builds a treehouse. The movie at least tries to give the characters an arc, but it's through the most stupid of subplots, like Simon getting bit by an insect and suddenly turning heroic in French for some reason, and the crazy lady on the desert island obsessed with finding a treasure, and Alvin becoming the responsible one, which still does not take away what an unlikable twerp he is. And then there's Ian, who's considering leaving his old bad ways behind. And while I could buy him appearing in the second film, it's pretty contrived how he shows up here. Any sort of tension is also not helped by how fake and obvious the set looks. Despite its short length, I was just bored by Chipwrecked and just found myself groaning at the jokes, including an incredibly dated double rainbow reference. I also have to ask, why in all these films they get these big names to voice the Chipmunks? What's the point of getting people like Justin Long, Amy Poehler, Alan Tudyk, and Anna Faris, among others, to voice the Chipmunks and Chipettes when they just speed up the voices? I doubt there are too many fans of the actors who are swayed to see the film purely because of their participation. Ross Bagdasarian Jr. and Janice Carmen are involved in the film's productions, and are still able to do the voices, so I don't understand the need to hire celebrities. Want big and recognizable names in your movie? That's what the live-action roles are for. Now, you might be wondering if I have anything positive to say about the Chipmunks franchise, and I do actually. The visual effects team have actually done an impressive job on the animation of the Chipmunks. They feel like they're believably in the scenes and talking to the actors, and with each entry the animators keep getting better. The Chipmunks have the realistic-looking fur to fit them into the real-life scenarios, but they still manage to keep some cartoony expressions. As much as I hated listening to the voices, I think the animators deserve a lot of credit for giving the Chipmunks the right facial expressions, especially in Chipwrecked. And if you look at Riven Hughes' credits over the years, this is not surprising as they are basically the go-to people for CG animals. That they are able to jump from Alvin and the Chipmunks' Chipwrecked to Life of Pi is doubly astounding. Now this December, Alvin and the Chipmunks will no longer be a trilogy, as there's currently a 4th movie set for release on Christmas. Now, if 2010 me was doing this video, I would probably complain and whine about them making another one. However, this is 2015 me you're watching, and my reaction to the 4th one is, bring it on. As much as I hate these films, I understand the appeal for certain people, and if you're excited for Alvin 4, look forward to it. I'm not going to stand here and say it's going to be terrible, because I don't know. I don't have a time machine, nor am I psychic. I think the possibility exists of somebody making an Alvin and the Chipmunks project that I end up liking, and this could very well be the one that does it. I actually dislike hating movies, and I want to like everything I watch. If I end up liking Alvin 4, which is a very real likelihood, I will applaud and congratulate the filmmakers. There's also a new Alvin and the Chipmunks television series in production at the moment, and that could be the one that finally clicks with me. If you have a good story, funny jokes, endearing and well-developed characters on top of great animation, that's all I ask. And with that, I'll see you next time.